We gotta move on to our topic: bands and orchestras. Thank you for those random facts again, bro. But I just wanted to give a little bit of a brief background on like the history of bands and orchestras. I didn't really understand. I didn't realize that bands or concert bands are kind of a 19th century thing. Did you know that?
19th?
Or no, not 19th. It would be 1900s. Yeah.
20th.
So 20th century thing.
Because it's always.
Did you know that? That it's actually a newer thing.
Did not know that.
Orchestras, however.
Well, those go back.
Ages. And for those of you that don't know, a band basically is just woodwinds, brass, and percussion. Sometimes a bass and piano, is usually what's in a band, a concert band. And then an orchestra is strings, percussion, woodwinds, and brass. So basically everything. And obviously there's different variations of each. So it's not constrained to one type or the other. So bands, though, originated within the 1900s, and they were mainly from military bands of the British and the Americans. That's how they actually came about, and most of their music started as marches. And if you think about it, it makes sense, because you can't haul out these huge stringed instruments into marches and stuff. You know what I mean?
A violin isn't that big.
Yeah, but the rest of your orchestra is, Joe.
That's true.
That's what I'm getting at. Is like your cellos, your basses, your
cellos
violas,
basses, really.
Those bigger instruments.
Even violas can be played while walking. But yeah, I understand the cellos and the basses. Yeah, you can't.
Sure, you can get a violin. Violins you can get out there. But everything else, good luck.
And it's possible with cellos, but it's like I've seen it done before where they have like a dancing configuration of cellos. It's possible, but it's not easy by any means. You need something called, and this is gonna sound odd, but you need something called a block strap, and it attaches to the cello. I know it sounds weird because it sounds awfully close to something else that's odd, and I don't want to talk about that. But in fact,
what is it, Joe?
My orchestra teacher accidentally said the other thing one time when she was talking about the block
really?
straps.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that was the other class. I wish I was there because that would have been hilarious, but.
So yeah, when it comes to concert band, that didn't really originate until, like Mark said too, in the 20s and 30s. So it's interesting that I did not know that. So
that is interesting.
There's my, well, not really random, but there's my fact for the day.
I can kind of understand that though, because think about like you don't think of like pre-1900s as really having like.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't really associate it with that. It's just you feel like it would be older because it seems like something so simple.
Well, because instruments like that have been around for
but actually putting them together.
Time. Yeah.
Like you wouldn't expect to hear a march in the 1800s.
Yeah. So, but for orchestras, that goes back, and actually I couldn't find like a definitive time that goes back to.
Makes
it
sense.
just kind of said the classical period.
Yeah, they've been around
is
for
what I was seeing.
Years.
But the main period that it was, or in the classical period, the main person that like really influenced it, can you guess it? Guess the person.
I'm guessing either Bach or Beethoven.
There you go. Beethoven was a large influence on the.
I was guessing it was one of those
orchestra. Two. Yeah. So some of those first arrangements that were introduced. So with orchestras too, you have different types and sizes. So you have symphony or philharmonic orchestras, which are typically over 80 musicians. And the reason that they're symphony and philharmonic is because it's if there's two different orchestras in the same location. So like you have I can't remember the example they used. It was something like the London Philharmonic and the Symphony of London or something like that. It was something to that effect. So that's the difference between your symphony and philharmonic. And then chamber orchestras are up to 50 musicians, so 50 or less.
Well, yeah, because chamber orchestras are supposed to fit within a chamber. Nowadays we say.
Ah, there you go.
That's the reason why they're called that.
Exactly.
I know because I'm in a chamber orchestra at my school.
So that's kind of your brief history on bands and orchestras. Another interesting fact that I found while doing my research was that there's actually a current problem with funding for orchestras in the United States, where because we've moved to more media that's kind of the singular artist, or less people are needed to create things, right? Less and less people, and I think this also has to do with like the digital age too. Less and less people are going to concerts. And because of that, they've actually, a lot of like conductors and band members or orchestra members and stuff have had to take pay cuts because they're not bringing in the revenue like they used to. So yeah, I thought that was a very interesting fact, and I thought you'd enjoy that.
It is pretty interesting, especially considering, I mean, it makes sense, though, if you think about it, how much, I mean, music's changed a lot. We haven't gone to any orchestras, James, except for Trans-Siberian Orchestra.
Which isn't really
It's not really an orchestra. It's more of a rock and roll with violins.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's orchestra technically because it's the same instruments, but it's not your classical orchestra music.
Right.
So, like, I mean, how many people do you know that have attended a Philharmonic or a...
I don't think I have, other than our band stuff.
Other than my orchestra concerts, I mean...
Other than our band and orchestra concerts, I don't think I've actually attended. And maybe I should. I think it would be interesting to actually... And I think there's a different experience, and there's something to be said for that live type of music, especially in a large group like that. Mm-hmm. And the sound that is produced in that theater or in that auditorium. Like, there's something to be said for that natural sound that you get from a full orchestra.
What I'd really like to see is, this is kind of off the topic of orchestras and bands, but I'd kind of like to see, you know, that Earth Harp dude?
Oh yeah,
I would love to go to a concert of one of his. If you haven't heard of it, just look up Earth Harp America's Got Talent, and you'll know exactly why.
Yeah, well, basically he has strings over the entire theater.
Yeah.
So the sound is, from what I've heard described, is like the sound is from everywhere. Is what the feeling is.
Which I would love to witness that. It would just be amazing.
So really interesting how music has developed and how the new age orchestras are having a hard time funding themselves because of that.